Welcome back to Special Interview. My name is Manuel Rapalo, your host. Joining us today, we have a very special guest, Danni Birmingham, a specialist in the U.S. Army. He's actually going to be, he's still on active duty. Danni, I want to thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and get started. I was hoping you could give us a little bit of a background of your situation. Where are you from, and what compelled you to join the U.S. Army in the first place?
Okay, I'm from Battle Creek, Michigan. Grew up there my whole life. It's a pretty low-income environment in general. My parents, my mom, she worked in a small parts car factory her whole life, and then for most of her life. And my dad was unemployed most of the time, injury problems, and so we never really had much. I mean, I grew up for most of my life in like a 3-generation household. Like pretty much my whole family was in the same house, about 14 people, 2 bedrooms. Didn't work out too good, and we never had much money, but I think that was one of the major things that influenced my decision to join the military. And went to public schools, played regular sports. Like I was just a normal kid.
What was appealing to you about the military when you first decided to join?
I guess college was a big thing, and to actually get out of my city. Because it seems like not too many people get out unless you're really smart and get scholarships or sports scholarships. And then, like, at the same time, I thought I was doing something good. I thought it'd be good for me and a great thing to do and help other people. And that was the main thing. I sort of felt trapped where I was because I didn't feel like I had too many options. Sort of stuck.
And where did you find out about all these options, the opportunities for advancing your education and scholarships and the opportunities that you'd get in the military? Where did you get all the information from?
Well, I always seen it in high school. They always had the recruiters in high school, and then but I wasn't interested in it then, actually. And then I was going to a community college, and once it started getting sort of rough, I started looking for other resorts, and then, of course, the ads, the millions of dollars of ads for the military, and had me thinking about it, and then I started talking to recruiters, and it seemed like a great opportunity.
Now, you're what's known as a conscientious objector, correct?
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of an idea of what that is? It doesn't seem to be a term that's used too often, and could you maybe give us an idea of what that means and what it means to be a conscientious objector?
Yeah, basically, to break it down simply, a conscientious objector is a person who is against all forms of war, and like me, I refuse to fight in them, and it's something you don't hear about a lot at all, especially soldiers. Like, they don't say, well, this is an option, and you never really hear about it.
So how is it that you can be a soldier and at the same time be opposed to war? It seems like one of those counterintuitive things, yeah?
It's been sort of tough. Like, if you apply for it, then they're supposed to not make you do anything involving like military weapons and training to do with war, and that's but you get put on a lot of extra details. You do the dirt work pretty much that nobody else wants to do, and it's been sort of rough. A lot of criticism, I guess I'd say.
So what kind of motivated you to that? What brought you to the point where you joined the Army and you weren't necessarily opposed to war at that time, correct?
Yes.
You were in Iraq for a little while. What was it that you experienced in Iraq? What was it that you saw, or can you tell us the story of how you decided to apply for being a CO?
Yeah, well, like, for me growing up and what I thought was like a really low income environment, being in Iraq, it's like true poverty. Like, you can't really even imagine it. Like, you gotta see it firsthand. And I mean, it's like, we've been over there for 8 years, 10 years, and like, when I joined, you get the idea that we're helping people over there, and I mean, there's still not much electricity in a lot of households, running water, and you see people like begging for water and bathing in this really disgusting sort of pond. It's more like waste, and it makes you start thinking about it, like, what am I actually doing here? And
Is that what you were expecting to see when you got there?
no, not that bad. Like, I knew it wasn't gonna be good at all. But
What were you told though? Like, I'm obviously not a military person, and the idea that I'm trying to get is what was the picture that was painted for you before you went out there? What were you told that you were going to expect?
One thing that I expected that I was shocked of, or realized that the people over there are violent. Like, it seems like how mainstream media and everything puts off is the people over there, like, they're all our enemy, and you got to be careful about all of them. And that's the biggest thing that I was shocked about, because they're actually very peaceful. They were very peaceful and accepting, actually, especially for being occupied. And that's one thing that I was shocked about. And I don't think I expected the standards of living.
You were in Basra, correct?
Basra, yes.
Now, another point that I wanted to touch with you is that you didn't know that you had the option of being a conscientious objector. Yeah. And once you did learn about the option, you had visited, because I did read your story, you did find out about this, but you were told from your superiors at one point that you were asked not to tell anybody about it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is true.
Can you elaborate a little bit about how that went down, and who was it that gave you these orders, and why do you suppose they're telling you not to tell more people?
Yeah, well, I'll start with like, when I was trying to find a way, because I was low, like, my morale was so low. I didn't want to participate in anything. I didn't want to work anymore. And first thought was go AWOL. I mean, I'd end up getting in trouble. And I was talked out of that by a family member, but he told me to refuse to work. And
could you explain a little bit about what that would imply, what it means when a soldier goes AWOL?
AWOL is absent without leave. Basically, you just take off and just don't come back. And it's like, I mean, they don't really come looking for you, but you can't really do anything. You can't use your social security number, and so you'd be really restricted if you went AWOL. And then when you turn yourself in or get caught, you'll spend a little time in jail and then get a most likely dishonorable discharge. And
so once you decided not to go that route, what did you pursue? What options?
I woke up one day and just didn't come to work, and I just stopped. And I actually wasn't contacted for a while, like for a few hours during the workday, and then finally they called me, and I basically just told them that I'm done, I can't do it anymore, and they really didn't know what to do. And then I talked to one of my superior NCOs at the time and explained my whole situation, and he really didn't know what to do either, because it doesn't happen very often, of course. And they ended up just sending me on leave to clear my head for a while, and that gave me a little time to think about what to do. And when I got back, I was
told...
And
you said that you faced kind of a moral dilemma in your story I was reading. What was it? What was the story that you told him? Was it one specific instance while you were out there that kind of changed your mind or made you start thinking, or was it more of a combination of things?
It was more of a combination, like to witness it firsthand and to get me to start thinking about it and keep learning about it and researching how it all came about was the biggest thing. And I felt like what I was doing was wrong, and I knew I couldn't do it anymore, and it bothered me every day. It was tough to keep going, to stay in it. I really wanted to leave at the time, just disappear from there.
And to touch back on something that you said, that the amount that Americans have in common with the people of Iraq, with the people of Afghanistan, more so in common than the people that these wars are being fought for. Yes. Can you give us your opinion as to who you think these wars are being fought for?
Yeah, we have a lot of low poverty areas, I'd say, and most people work just to get by. I'd say a very high percentage of people in the United States, And the people that we fight these wars for, in my point of view, is people very high up that, like, they profit. They're the only ones profiting off these wars, either if it's oil or anything like that. And the people really high up in their governments, I feel, both governments, and we don't see any of it, of course. Our economy, it hasn't came back up. Theirs definitely hasn't gotten any better, and the people that are actually fighting these wars aren't getting anything for it except for payment to just get by.
And do you feel as though, because there's a lot of negative feelings towards the United States around the world, not to say that a lot of that is justified, but why do you feel that is? Why do you feel there's so much negativity towards the United States around the world? And I don't mean specifically Iraq or Afghanistan. I'm talking about all over the world.
Yeah, you can't really blame them. It's like the countries that we have occupied or attacked or have problems with are really, most of them are countries that don't pose a threat to us at all. They're not strong enough to even pose a threat to our country, and that's who we go after. But excuse me, and it's like they're countries we still gain off of when you really break it down. Like Libya is one, and they're the most advanced country in Africa. And it's countries like that, but when we look at it, Libya has no threat directly to the United States whatsoever.
Like, do you feel as a soldier, having been on the ground? I want to get your take on what it was like on the ground. What was your role in the Army? What was your function there? And do you feel as though there was a threat to Americans? Was there really, as you hear in American media, that there's a constant threat to the freedom of the United States? There's a constant threat to the freedom of speech that Americans enjoy here. Did you see that on the ground there? And as well as also, what was your function as a soldier and what was your job there?
That's actually one of the things that bothers me the most, I think. I'm actually field artillery, and but I deployed as infantry. We did a lot of patrols, and we interacted with the community a lot. And the fact that the conditions that these people live in compared to ours, there's no way that they can oppose a threat to us. They don't have an air force. They don't have navies. There's no actual way that they could oppose a direct threat to America, especially our freedom. If anything, I believe that us occupying them and the millions that have died over there, that has caused more of a threat, if anything, because, I mean, if somebody killed my father or a family member, then I'd have direct hatred towards that person, and it's an entire country that's doing it to them. And I feel that they will grow up despising this country, and that'll lead to more violence in the future.
So, having spoken to your fellow soldiers on the ground, being in Basra, and seeing the fighting firsthand, what do you gather from what you've spoken to your other soldiers about? What do they feel like they're fighting for?
Well, a lot don't even have an answer for it, and a lot of them, my eyes, won't accept that they're fighting for nothing, because it's their job. And now a lot of soldiers on the same hand, we share the same views, but I guess they sort of just accept it and go along with it because it's their job. And there's actually quite a few soldiers that wouldn't want to do it, but usually what comes into play is like they're getting paid, and that's all a lot of people care about these days. Yeah,
that's actually a very important point that you bring up is the money aspect, because what I want to ask is, and I know it's hard for a soldier to just accept something that they may not necessarily agree with or believe in, but we're seeing record enlistments in the Army. And the United States has a volunteer army.
Yeah.
What do you think that's a result of? Do you think that it's the result of the economy being bad here at home?
Yeah, especially right now. I mean, when the wars first started after the attacks on September 11th, I mean, a lot of people wanted to do it, and all the reports of weapons of mass destruction that would pose a threat to our country, stuff like that. That's when I think people were joining for patriotic reasons and to actually defend their country. And I mean, we all came out to find out most of that was a lie. There was no weapons of mass destruction and everything, so it's sort of a lot of people deceived by that. But now, more currently, I believe that even though it's not a draft, how the economy is and how hard it is to get a job or afford school, schools are so expensive, it's almost like, even though there's not technically a draft, the economy forces it to be a draft for a lot of kids that live in very low income areas and that live in poverty in the United States, and that's what you most see in the military. You don't see too many wealthy kids with wealthy families joining the military. There's no politicians, kids out there fighting with us. It's all people that grew up a lot like me, and it's almost like a draft in its own way, an economical draft, even though it's not direct.
And how has the war changed you as a person? Or do you feel as though you're a different person now than you were before you enlisted?
Most definitely. I never really thought about I guess I wasn't as conscious as a person when I joined. I mean, I was young. I was doing what everybody who just got out of high school was doing, and it helped me grow up really fast. And I think, I look at the world in different situations a lot differently now, seeing how other people live compared to how we live over here. And that's probably the only good thing that's came out of me being in the military, is getting to see it firsthand and learning for myself and learning the real problems that we face these days.
Now, the United States, there's a movement going on right now. You've seen demonstrations occurring in New York City, more and more demonstrations occurring throughout the United States.
Yeah.
You see them right here in Washington, D.C. as well. Now, you're from Michigan, correct? Your family's from Michigan as well?
Yes.
And I understand that you flew out here to Washington for these demonstrations. Can you give us an idea of what you're trying to accomplish here and how your family feels now, now that you're back and what you're going through?
Yeah, I flew out here. I wanted to be part of the whole movement, and there's a big anti-war part in this movement that's out here in D.C., and I thought it'd be a lot good experience because I have plans of continuing what I'm doing right now even after I get out, and I thought it'd just be good to get out here and get experience, and I had the opportunity to come out here, so of course I took it. And in the area I'm at right now, there's not as much of a movement, and that's the main reason I came out here. My family, they've been 100% behind me the whole time. When I joined, they were behind me. They accepted that. It took them a little longer to accept that, and then and when I changed, they understood it, and now they have my back again 100%, and that's a big part of it too.
And do you think, where you're from in Michigan, whenever you do go back, do you think that you're going to be part of a movement there as well, as we're seeing this movement continuing to spread in the United States?
Yeah, I want to be. This trip's been big for me because I seen firsthand what's going on in the movements, and I plan on going to college when I get out, and most likely back in Michigan. And Michigan has a lot of problems in itself, of course. The economy in Michigan is just terrible, and one thing I've noticed is a lot of, I guess, the demographics of the movement that's going on right now. It's not as many young people. It's a majority older people, especially Vietnam veterans that have went through this in the past. And colleges, if you look back when the Vietnam War was going on, college students were one of the biggest parts of the movement, and that definitely needs to get back into it. And also, I want to share the knowledge of ways to get out, of the military, not try and brainwash people into getting out, but tell them that if they feel trapped, they have an opportunity to stand up for what they believe in, and they can get out of the military without going AWOL or, even worse, committing suicide, which is big in the military.
Yeah, that's a very important point that you're bringing up. I want to get back to talking a little bit about your case specifically,
yes.
and Where does that stand currently? Because you are in active duty. You're scheduled to deploy when? Very soon.
My unit's scheduled to deploy next month.
And you're very much trying to not let that happen, right? But at the same time, what is exactly the message that you're trying to get out to other soldiers that may not know that they have the option that you've discovered for yourself?
Well, I'm not going to deploy either way. I don't think they can deploy me while my packet's in anyways. But my unit's getting ready to go, and I want to, like, I've been talking with all the people that I work with that I'm around, like, why do you think you got to go, or why are you going? And they don't really have an answer besides the deployment money. And I just want to share with them, it's like, especially the ones that haven't been over there yet, it's like, what you're doing isn't worth it at all as a human. It's the aftermath of going over there is just as bad as what could happen over there, especially if they see a lot of action or whatnot. And I just want them to think about it. I mean, I can't force anybody to say no, but they feel that they don't have the power to stand up for what they believe in. That's what I think a lot of society believes in. They don't have power.
Do you feel as though the Army is misleading them, maybe, into thinking that that they're doing something important? I mean, I'm just trying to get a better idea myself. But in your personal experience, or maybe the stories that you've heard from the people that you're talking to, do you feel that maybe they are being misled into thinking that what they're doing is for a cause? And what cause would that be?
Yeah, there's still a lot of people that do feel like we're over there for a good cause, and I don't really know the reason. Like, everything's been proven to be false. The majority of everything that they've said we're over there for. And, like, the fact that either Taliban or Al-Qaeda is a threat to the United States, which is pretty much impossible, really. And
Danny, you're an example of that truth being exposed, and you're actually and you're different in the sense that you're trying to get that message across. How far are you willing to go with this? What message is it that you're trying to get accomplished? And you're out here being very vocal at these demonstrations. What are you hoping gets accomplished with your message as well as with the demonstrators' message?
Well, I want to share my message as much as possible and touch as many individuals as possible, and at least to get them to think about it and start the process, and hopefully start to get more people to think about it and actually take action with it, because the morale of the military is very low for lower in rank soldiers or lower enlisted soldiers, and to get them thinking about it and to stand up for how they actually feel. And that's probably the fastest and best way that this war would end, because they're powerless without the people that actually do the work.
Yeah, you speaking about the morale of the soldiers being down, what about just the general economics of it? People are... Do you feel as though things are going to change? Because the economy is doing terrible. We're talking about 9.1% unemployment. That is just flat across the board. That's official unemployment. That's not taking into account unofficial unemployment, people that are just giving up looking for jobs. That's, I believe, what's leading into the rise in enlistments. Do you see that changing? Do you see, because it's kind of the perfect storm for military enlistment, do you see what the point that you're making of morale being down as kind of being the downfall of the perpetuation of these wars?
Yeah, a lot of people, like I firsthand know a lot of people that are getting out and a lot of people that can't wait to get out. And I don't know about the economy changing. Like, that's what a lot of this movement's about, and that's what we need. I think if the people don't do anything about it, it's not going to change at all. We're the only ones really empowered to change it, because it's been shown that nobody out there high up is going to change it. And I just hope that more people in the military take a stand, because that's probably the only way these wars will end, because right now there's no plans of it ending anytime soon.
Have you spoken to any of your elected officials about this? And what type of response? Because you are an American citizen, what type of response are you getting from your congressman or from your senator when you're vocal about these issues?
I haven't gotten any response from them. I know higher ups in the military that I see on a day-to-day basis. A lot of them are against it. The majority of them are against it, and but other than that, like, people, especially people in the movement, think it's amazing, and it is. And you got a lot of Vietnam vets out here in D.C., and they went through the same exact thing. And it was inside the military that ended that war. They refused to fight, and they were powerless after that, and they had to end the wars. And that's the biggest thing. And so far as the rest of the population,
what are your fellow soldiers saying? Are you getting that sentiment as though? Do you feel that movement within the ranks of the military is growing?
Yes, most of my friends in the military and other soldiers don't have a problem with it. A lot of them think it's really cool, and like, they sort of thought I was crazy at first. Like, you're gonna get in a lot of trouble for this. This doesn't exist, but it actually does. And because you never hear about this, most people would think that I'd get arrested or something for doing this. And now there was some that felt sort of, I don't know how to put it, betrayed or abandoned, because I deployed with them before and we were close, and then I came out and was just done, and they didn't really know what to do. And but for the most part, it's been a positive feedback from other soldiers.
Danny, I want to thank you very much for being on our show. Unfortunately, we are out of time. These 25 minutes do tend to fly by really fast.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for being on the show. And I want to thank our guest, Danni Birmingham. He is on active duty with the U.S. Army Specialist. And please join us again next time. My name is Manuel Rapalo, and this was a special interview.